Alright, so in the last video I did my Black Friday stuff and I gave away my codes. I forgot to give away Bumblebee, which is around here somewhere. I just like a bunch of DVDs, so I forgot that. So that'll be in here. But also, I went and grabbed all my old DVDs off the all my old Blu Rays off the shelf and just figured I'll see what's good. Now, about 15 of these, I don't think the code is good because the movies are either really old or I bought them used. So I don't really know about the code on those. So I'll go ahead and do those first and then I'll do the rest of my stuff, which most of it should be okay. It's kind of close. I mean, from what I looked around, it seems like the expiration dates are kind of iffy. Sometimes things will expire before they're supposed to, and sometimes they'll expire after. So, we'll see. So first up, first up is the no. This is something I bought used. I Frankenstein. There's no code in here, so not surprised. Toss that aside. This is another used one, Snow White and Huntsman. Let's see. This may be redeemed. We'll see. Here's that. All right. Sucker Punch. This is a pretty bad movie, so I don't know if I recommend watching it. It feels like a sucker punch because I thought it was going to be really cool watching the commercials, and then I saw it like, ugh. But maybe I should watch it again. Okay, Man of Steel. Now this movie is another Zack Snyder thing, which I love this movie. Well, I don't love it, but I like it. I like the DC stuff. So, if that's still good, you can like it too, or think it's terrible. Alright, next up is Live, Die, Repeat, or Edge of Tomorrow, depending which name you want. I have a lot of stuff to go through, so I'm going to try not to take too much time here. Alright. If you need a code, just go ahead and pause it. Alright, next is Pirates of the Caribbean Stranger Tide. I think I bought this new, but it's kind of old, so this digital copy might be taken. I guess this is the code. I'm not sure. Alright, there's that. That looked a little weird. Okay, now Prometheus. This is one of those movies that as long as you don't pay attention to the story, it's fantastic. I'm not... Okay, I think the code is down there. That looks like it. Redemption code for both. Yep. All right. Now, some of these are for the ultraviolet service, which is no longer in service, but I believe you can go to Vudu and a few other, like the studio that owns the movie, and they might have the code. The code might work there if it's still valid. Now, Pacific Rim. This is the movie that I wanted to love, but I did not like. I remember when it came out, I was in Las Vegas for, I think, Evo 2014 or so. So I went and saw this movie and I about fell asleep, but some people seem to like it. Personally, I think the second movie is better, but people who like the first movie hate the second movie, so there's that. Yeah. Now the Avengers, Marvel the Avengers. Now this one I got screwed because I bought this when it first came out. I was like all excited, and I watched it in 3D because I have a 3D television. And then it wasn't until, I'd say maybe like a couple of years later, that I was like, man, I want to watch that Avengers again. To get excited, then I like popped it in, only to realize that my my Blu Ray is scratched. Okay. Now the greatest movie ever made, Scott Pilgrim. This is one of those movies when I saw it, I think the Expendables came out the same week, so I wasn't sure which one I wanted to go see. I think I ended up seeing both of them. I didn't really like this movie. I mean, I kind of liked it, but the ending, I didn't. I mean, Scott and Ramona are such terrible people that I didn't think the happy ending of them getting together was made much sense. But when I rewatched it, I realized like how much detail went into that movie and how many like little hidden things. I ended up really enjoying it. So, Suicide Squad, another contentious movie. Let me. This is kind of like the opposite. When I walked out of the theater, I was kind of mixed. I wasn't sure if I enjoyed it or if I didn't. Then I watched it again. And I don't hate the movie, but that second act, man, it's like yikes. It just turns into a completely different film. Okay. Oh, X-Men, Days of Future Past. This one is probably the best X-Men movie. People might argue Wolverine is or Logan is the best. That's debatable. What is this? No, that's not it. But I would go with this one. Although I like X3, so there's that. Now, Dread. This is also a really, really good movie. If you haven't seen this movie, you should check it out. I like the original Judge Dredd, so I was pretty hyped to see this movie, and it was like I was kind of wowed by it. It reminds me of the apt comparison is The Raid. It's very much like that. I think I saw The Raid slightly before I saw Judge Dredd. I probably would have liked the movie even better if I didn't know that it was kind of a ripoff. Here's The Hunger Games. I think this is just the first one. This is the only one I ever purchased. I still haven't seen all of these movies yet. I think I got confused at some point. I think I watched part of the Mockingjay one and I fell asleep. So maybe one of these days. I'm not sure if there's a digital copy in here. I figured I'd pull this out. It's the X-Men collection. Check real quick. Okay, no. Almost done with the old stuff. Silent Hill Revelation. This one I bought used, so this code is probably not good, but we'll see. Now, hopefully I'm holding these codes up good, so visibly good enough that you can actually get to them. Now, X-Men Apocalypse. You can see I bought this, never watched it. I did see it in theaters, though. I thought it was kind of okay. I mean, the problem with the Apocalypse is it pretty much was Days of Future Past again. I don't really see the point of retconning your movie just to retcon it over again, tell the same kind of story. But I pretty much like all of the Fox X-Men movies to some degree. I mean, Dark Phoenix was pretty weak, but still I wasn't upset about it. Ooh, this not in there? Okay. Well, I tried to... Okay. Just, alright, there's that. Gotta open this. Okay, I'm just gonna go ahead and leave that disc on the floor. Hopefully I don't mess it up. Alright. Now this is another one I bought used, so not sure if this code is gonna be in here for Tron Legacy. These Disney codes are weird. Make sure, double check, make sure that's the right code. I don't see anything else. Alright. I like this movie a lot. I only vaguely remember the original Tron. I mean, I saw it in theaters, but I was like a really little kid, so I don't even remember that at all. The only reason I know that is because my dad told me, and I saw bits of it on TV. So I need to watch it again, but I haven't really been able to get into the mood. Okay, no code here. This is Genesis, but I bought this used, no code. Alright. Those are all the really old DVDs or stuff that I bought used, so maybe those codes work, maybe they don't. Who knows? Now most of these are fairly recent. Now they're 2 to 3 years old. Maybe a few of them are 4, so I'm not 100% sure, but most of these, the code should be good. Alright, so let's go with the Escape Plan. A really good Sylvester Stallone movie. I'm kind of surprised at how good it is. I didn't watch it until fairly recently. There are two sequels, but they don't look very good, so I don't know if I want to watch those. Alright. The Ender's Game. This movie is serviceable. I read the book, which I liked a lot, so I watched the movie. I was kind of apprehensive about the movie because Orson Scott Card, the author, has some controversial opinions, let's say. But the movie, I didn't go see the movie in theaters, but it was alright when I finally watched it. Okay, this one is on the pile. This Black Panther. This doesn't say digital, so I'm just going to assume no digital code. Alright. Next up is Mortal Engines. This movie I have not seen. The CG, it's very special effects driven, and the CG didn't look very good. So it's kind of one of those movies that came out. I saw the commercials. I kind of wanted to go see it, but not really, $13 bad. So picked it up when it finally got cheap enough. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like there'll be any sequels because the movie bombed. So if I like it, I'm going to be bummed. Here's another movie, Ken. This movie is kind of interesting, but it has this big sci-fi gun, but that has little to do with it. It's pretty much just a family drama with a little bit of sci-fi tossed onto it, which is, I guess it's okay, but I was kind of aching for more of the, know more about the gun and the aliens and stuff that's related to that, which is non-existent in that movie, almost. Next is the Jurassic Park collection. This is pretty much everything. I think it does it have the last, it may not have the last Jurassic Park movie, I'm not sure. It has most everything else. Yeah, I don't see the Jurassic World 2, so pretty much everything else. Although, you really only need to watch the first movie. Okay. Let me try to skip through the Bumblebee. Oh, here it is. Forgot this. This is part of my Black Friday haul. I forgot to post this thing yesterday, but here it is now. Which is kind of confusing because it says, oh, okay, never mind. I said that this advertisement on the back for the 4K version. So I have the non-4K version, which doesn't have digital codes. At least it didn't seem so on the box. Alright, so next we'll do E.T., the Extraterrestrial. This movie was I don't know if it's one of my favorite movies when I was a kid, but I had an E.T. doll that I had until its eyeballs and stuffing fell out of it. So I must have liked it a lot. Hell yeah. Okay. Rewatched it. Didn't really hold up, but it's still a good movie. I can see why it's a classic. Resident Evil, The Final Chapter, which is the worst of the Resident Evil movies, which says something. I like the series myself, but this one has, like, no continuity with all the movies that came before it, which is kind of weird. I'm not sure. If that's the movie code or if that's something else. Okay. There's two different codes on here. I'm not sure which is which. I think this is the movie code. And this other one is some kind of like discount for if you buy 3 movies or something. I don't know. Okay. Alright. Starting to get down there. Okay. Ninja Turtles, the first one, live action. Well, not the first one, but you know what I mean. I thought this movie was okay. I went and saw this in theaters. It felt kind of weird walking into the movies and having like a bunch of little kids in there. Being like, oh yes, right, this is a kids movie and I'm a 30-something-year-old man. Anyway, 47 Ronin. This is the movie I haven't finished watching all the way. I watched part of it on TV, but I didn't watch the whole thing. So hopefully it's a good movie if I ever get around to finishing it. I think after I watch the John Wicks, I'll probably be in the mood for more Keanu, so I'll probably check that. Okay, Huntsman, Winter War, the sequel to that other Huntsman movie. I think I almost bought this twice because I forgot that I had it. The first one looks like it's pretty good. The second one looks kind of like, eh. But I'll probably check that out. Alright. Next, one of the best movies I own, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. This is, I would argue this is probably the second best Spider-Man movie. I like the Raimi one the best. And then probably this, and then two. And I don't really care for the newer Spider-Man movies because they're just like more like Iron Man Jr. movies instead of Spider-Man films, if you know what I mean. So it's kind of like, I mean, they're serviceable, but I'm not a big fan. Batman versus Superman. Next up is Ghost in the Shell, the live-action movie with Scarlett Johansson. This movie was okay, but it's just kind of like, if you're going to tackle that kind of subject matter, you should probably do it more justice. So it has the right look, but it's not intellectual enough, or I guess not full of itself enough to be a proper Ghost in the Shell add-on. Next up is Valerian, which is a pretty good movie. I think part of the reason why I didn't do so great is because like halfway through the movie, it just takes like 30 minutes of Valerian going to a strip club, which is not really good for the plot. So it just kind of slows the movie down, the pacing a little bit, but it was good stuff. I actually there's like an animated TV series that I didn't know about. I picked that one up, so I need to watch all of that. Next up, Logan. Did I do this yesterday? No. Okay. I'm getting confused. I opened this yesterday, but I didn't put it up yesterday. All right. So, Logan. This is a pretty good movie. I need to watch it again. I was not blown away by this movie like a lot of people. I thought it was kind of okay, but I didn't really care for the sacrifice angle. Okay. The Assignment. This is a kind of a weird one. If you don't know the subject matter, you can kind of look that up yourself. All right. Go with the Baby Driver. I heard is a really good movie. I still haven't got around to watching it, but it looks great. Never mind the Kevin Spacey, which, hey, I don't know if it's controversial to say, but I still like Kevin Spacey, even if he likes to touch the balls of 16 years old. That's next up. A Split. Okay, we're getting there. Still have a little while to go. We're getting there. Nice little pile on the floor. All right, let's go. Planet of the Apes. Hopefully, these aren't all individually coded. It's a poster. All right. Yes, one by one here. Go with Dawn. This is a pretty good movie, so if you haven't seen it, you should probably check it out. There's something else here. Okay, that's sneak access to a movie that's already out. I'll go with, actually, that's the wrong order. This is the second one. This is the first one. You probably should watch this one first, but they're both good movies. All right. Now the last one, War. All right. I remember when they first announced that they were going to make these, I'm like, that would never work. Now people think these are some of the best movies in that series ever made. Now, Aquaman. Morgan. This movie I got this movie because it kind of reminded me of another movie. I think it was called Splice, about some like genetically engineered girl, which is actually not a bad movie, but it's kind of messed up. I would recommend tracking that down if you haven't seen it. I don't have a copy myself, but it was a trip. Okay. Movie of the year, Assassin's Creed. Probably shouldn't cover up that QR code there, huh? All right. Staying on the topic of video game movies, we do Tomb Raider. Now, personally, I'm more of a fan of the Angelina Jolie version, but this movie was all right. I'm not really hyped for a sequel, but I'll definitely check it out. I'm assuming one's going to be made because that first movie made a lot of money, mainly in China, but we'll see what they do for the sequel. Okay. Chronicles of Riddick. I think this is the full trilogy, which is Broken Case. All right. It's 3 different movies. Oh, this is one of those weird franchises where I saw the first movie, Pitch Black, and it like blew me away. I was like, wow, I didn't expect this to be so good. I only went and saw it because the lady from Farscape was in it with the black hair, smoking hot. So like, I'll check this out. And then the movie was so great, and they made part 2, and it was like, what the hell is this? Like, they tried to be Star Wars for some strange reason. I still don't understand what happened with that series. Now here's Alita. I'm trying to get it out of its case. You should check this out. Or even if you do, I guess you can watch it. I thought it was pretty good, but I just didn't think it was like anything special. Maybe a few years ago, the special effects would have been enough, but I personally just kind of like, that was a movie. I'll watch part 2 if they make it, which I don't think they will. Happy Death Day. Alright, we're starting to get down there. Just a stack to go. Warcraft. This I still have not seen. That's weird. Headphones there. I did play Warcraft, World of Warcraft. I didn't really like the game. It's one of those things where I played it because it was popular and my friends were playing it, but I didn't really myself enjoy it. I mean, I was rolling as a Shadow Priest, I think that's what it's called. Good stuff. Undead. The game itself didn't really grab me like it did other people. I like Warcraft 3 was my jam, but not World of Warcraft. So one of the reasons why I haven't watched this movie yet is because I don't really care too much about the Warcraft lore. But I guess I can see the origins of Thrall, and you can too. The Great Wall. This is one of those movies where I had no interest in seeing it once I learned out what it was about, but if it's cheap, I'll pick it up. Maybe one of these days I'll get around to watching it. Oh man, these DVDs just are not in here. Like, I guess that's what happens when you buy from Walmart. Alright. About to hand over Jupiter Ascending, but there's no Blu Ray, no digital, so you're safe, I guess. Power Rangers. I have a feeling that like this code is probably expired because I got this movie years ago, but it's kind of hard to tell. Maybe. I thought this movie was actually pretty darn good for like a reboot type deal. I wanted more sequels, but if they haven't made them by now, they're not going to do it. At least not with that cast. Now we have The Last Witch Hunter. Another Vin Diesel action movie. I didn't hear very much about this movie, so I don't know if it's actually good or bad. But it's kind of up my alley. I like magic and witches and warlocks, that kind of stuff. So I saw Vin Diesel with a sword, so it's like, I'll check that out. Alright. John Wick 2. The other day I did do John Wick 3, but I think I don't know if that code was able to be redeemed because the way it looked kind of weird. I was trying to look for it again, try maybe put it up again in case no one was able to get it, but I don't know where it is. It's probably in this big stack of DVDs over here. I'm not going through that. So, all right, The Dark Tower. Now this movie, people hate this movie for some reason. I actually liked it. It reminded me a lot of The Last Action Hero. If you ever saw that movie, if you like that movie, I would recommend checking this out. It's not even remotely faithful to the books. I've only read The Gunslinger, and that has nothing to do with this. So I could understand why people didn't like this movie, but as just like a movie, I thought this was pretty darn good. Very enjoyable. So I'd say check it out. Okay. It's about as faithful to the book as World War Z is to its source material, but it's still a pretty good little action movie. It's about a kid who goes to meet this guy from a different dimension and brings him to Earth, that kind of thing. Another quality movie, Fantastic Four. Oh, this is one of those weird movies. I mean, not weird, but weird as in people hate this movie. I do not understand the hatred for this film. I thought it was awesome. I mean, the body horror. I mean, there's a part of this movie, I guess, where this guy reappears and he starts doing some stuff out of the movie scanners. I'm like, hell yeah. This is totally my thing. But then they fight, and there's a giant blue portal in the sky. You know, typical superhero stuff. So I think this movie is one of those things like the Snyder cut of Batman vs. Superman, where it's ruined by studio interference. If they had just let the director do what he wanted, it would be something memorable. Even if people hated it, it would still be awesome. So here's X-Men Apocalypse. And how many of these X-Men movies have I done? I think I've gone through all of them. They kind of blend together after a while, since they're all just Days of the Future Past after a point, again and again and again. It's Kong Skull Island. I don't see anything about digital in here, so no. 10 Cloverfield Lane, the best movie in the Cloverfield franchise. There are only 3, but they're barely connected. I would argue they're not connected at all, but this is one of those movies where it's just a good movie, and they slapped the Cloverfield alien stuff on it at the end, which wasn't really necessary, but at the same time, I would not have gone to see this movie if it didn't have that stuff, so you kind of see why they did it. But you should check this one out if you haven't. And it looks like, on the flip side, they have the original Cloverfield movie. Now it says the code is expired, but you never know. Maybe it's good, maybe it's not. Okay. The Seventh Son. This is essentially The Witcher, the movie. It's kind of lighthearted, but if you haven't checked it out, I don't think a lot of people know about this film. I saw it in the theaters, and I actually thoroughly enjoyed it, so it might be worth a watch. It's about a guy, kind of typical fantasy story. You have a guy living a small life in the village. Some old guy shows up. It's like, hey, you're the special person, and then he gets trained and goes off to fight evil. So not exactly reinventing the wheel. I remember seeing this in theaters and thinking having a pretty good time watching it. Unfortunately, no more sequels got made, but it's worth a watch. Mother. This is supposed to be a very trippy movie. I've started to watch this several times. It's like I don't know if my stomach is ready for this, so I haven't gotten around to it. Alright, next up is a very high quality movie I'm sure you all will enjoy. Gods of Egypt. Which is one of those things where it's like, Wow, I know 300 was a good movie, but it's like every movie that's copied 300 has just looked like pure trash. Right. I think the last live action movie it appears that I have here, Crimson Peak. I believe this movie came out on Halloween, around Halloween a few years ago, and it just didn't play. I wanted to see it pretty badly, but it didn't play here locally. And at the time, my car wasn't the greatest. I just got a new car recently, so now I can go wherever. But at the time, I just wasn't able to see it. But it looked like it was pretty interesting, so hopefully that's a good scare. Alright, there's that. Now next is just the anime. I don't know if any of these will catch your interest. I looked at a lot of the stuff that I had. I didn't see anything about digital on the covers, so I didn't bother opening those to check. So there are probably no more codes. This should be it. Now, Outlaw Star. This is a very good show. This is one of those weird things where on Cartoon Network, I didn't really watch their Toonami, or I watched Toonami. I didn't really watch their Adult Swim stuff, the anime on that, because I was already buying my own anime at that time, because I was probably about 20, 21 or so. So this is one of the shows that came out, and people were big on it, and I didn't watch it, because it looked dumb. And then I think I saw it inside of the Suncoast one day, someone mentioned that it was really good. So I eventually got around to watching it, and I absolutely loved it. It's a fantastic show. Next up is Claymore. Now this is essentially Berserk, but with girls. So if you like that kind of stuff, that kind of violent action, you should watch it. It's especially kind of weird towards the end. It kind of turns into DBZ, where the characters are all of a sudden super powered and flying around and stuff. I really wish there's more of this, because it's a pretty good show. I really liked it. Totally up my alley anyway. But it does end abruptly. So if you want a full complete story, that's not in that show. Next up is Tokyo ESP, which I have not seen. I'm about to cut the non-existent cellophane here. I think I was just looking for stuff to watch. I saw this was on sale, so I went on YouTube, watched the first episode. Looked like a pretty good show, so I went ahead and picked it up. Now next up is the highest of quality of entertainment, Bikini Warriors. Now this is a bunch of shorts, so this is a pretty quick watch. But if it's your kind of thing, check that out. And okay, Dimension W. This is another show that is pretty good. It's not great. That's kind of like the biggest problem with this show. It's one of those things where you watch it and you can enjoy it, but it doesn't really go anywhere. It kind of sets itself up as if there's this big major plot line and all these interesting characters, and it just doesn't do anything with it. It's one of those things where I guess it was designed to run a long time, so not too much of interest happens in the first 13 episodes, but it never really goes further in the anime. Okay, lastly, but not leastly, The Record of Lodoss War. Now this is a classic. I don't know if it holds up today, but I remember at the time when I first started watching anime and I knew what anime was, this is one of those shows that you always heard mentioned. And I remember liking the theme song, just having it in my MP3 playlist and just listening to it all the time. It's pretty catchy. I don't know if that song is on here. I'm assuming it's part of one of the OVAs, so it's probably here. Now, I also don't know if the digital code is for the entire thing or if it's just for the OVAs. Because there's like a TV series and some video movies, home video movies. But if it holds up, this is still a pretty quality show. I think that's it. So, thanks for watching. I think I'm going to find Let me look. Let me check. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's it, but just for completionist sake, see this code for Star Wars: The Force Awakens. Now this was a rented copy that I bought used, so it's pretty much a given that this code is taken, but just in case. Okay, so that's it. I'm pretty sure that's everything. So hopefully you got a movie or two that you liked, or somebody got them all and beat you to it. Anyway, well, have a nice day.